السلام عليكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. So the last time we spoke a little bit about the definition of the Quran, and then we talked a little bit about the revelation of the Quran, what revelation means, and we talked about the revelation being over time. So if the revelation took place over 23 years, that would lend us to believe that a lot of things happened around the events of the revelation taking place. So one of the disciplines of understanding the Quran is what they call asbab and nuzul. Why were certain verses revealed? Now, not every revelation, not every verse or chunk of verses or surahs has a reason why it was revealed. Like today we were listening to a lot of the verses that have to do with Christ's, the Last Supper, the Ma'idah, etc. There's no reason, this is just a story that Allah Ta'ala is giving the Prophet ﷺ that He conveys to the community. But there are other instances when people would ask questions. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْمَحِيضِ وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ about, they ask you about this, they ask you about that. But some of the verses even indicate that there are reasons why these verses are revealed. So this discipline looks at, investigates into the hadith literature, what are the reasons why certain verses were revealed. Now, to make things more interesting is, of course, that there will be different narrations about different reasons. Some narrations will be stronger than others, so there might appear to be a conflict or a difference of opinion of why a certain set of verses was revealed, in which case the ulama look at the chain of transmission to see which one is the strongest chain of transmission or which one is the strongest tradition that we have, and then that becomes the answer versus the weaker one. At the same time, one verse or one set of revelation could have been revealed multiple times. So it has multiple reasons. That's also sometimes something we forget about. For example, the verse in Surah Al-Isra about the soul, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ. All of Surah Al-Isra was revealed during the time of Mecca. Inside that surah is this verse, they ask you about the soul, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي وَمَا أُوتِيتُ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. They ask you about the soul, say the soul is from Allah's command, from the amr of Allah Ta'ala, and you have only been given of knowledge a little bit. This verse was revealed again when the Prophet ﷺ went to Medina and he interacted with Jews for the first time. They asked him three questions. They asked him about the people of the cave, they asked him about the soul, and then they asked him about Dhul Qarnayn. So the first and the third are answered through the surah of Surah Al-Kahf. And then again the same verse is revealed, and in this case adduced to prove our belief about the soul. So you'll find that one verse or one set of verses was revealed for multiple reasons or at multiple times. So the big question, the big takeaway of this is the following. If there's a specific instance that happened that caused a verse to be revealed, does that mean that that verse is specific to that incident, or is it general? It depends. It's not going to be black and white. It's always going to be multiple answers. It depends. Usually the ibrah, we take the meaning of umum al-lafz. We take the meaning from the generality of the verse, not for the specificity of why it was revealed. The khusus is sabab. But there are some cases in the Quran in which the verse was revealed or part of a verse was revealed. It's specific wording for a specific reason, and therefore it is not meant to be a generality, but it is meant to be in that specific context. So if you go back to what I said just a while ago, that there are differences of opinions, then you can see how different tafsir scholars will deduce or understand different things. For example, one of the verses of Li'an is a very nasty thing, which its translation is imprecation, but that might as well be la'an because no one knows what that means. And I had to look it up when I first encountered that word. It's when a man accuses his wife of adultery or vice versa, and it's this very elaborate thing. It's done in the mosque and it's done public. It's really nasty stuff, okay? But it's, it's one of those things that we have, and it happens. So there are verses that talk about the li'an. Now, if you look at the hadith that talk about why the li'an verses were revealed, one set of verses will say it was for this sahabi. Another set of verses says it's for the other sahabi. The majority opinion says the second sahabi happened to come to the Prophet ﷺ at the same time to ask him this question: what should a man do if he finds his wife with another man? But the verses had already been revealed. So therefore, the second sahabi is not the sabab, is not the reason why those verses were revealed. The story reverts to the first sahabi. I know it sounds very technical, and it is technical. But if you don't investigate into this, you can end up understanding things incorrectly. What's the benefit of all of this, and why is it even important for you to know? Well, it's important for you to know that if the Quran was revealed over 23 years, it means that there are a lot of things that have happened during those 23 years that caused certain verses to be revealed. So it helps us understand our early history. It helps us understand the history of legislation, why certain things have been legislated in the Sharia versus other things. It also teaches us the importance of knowing the sources, but also taking the generality, because the Quran is a book of guidance. So it's meant for all places and all time and all circumstance. And it also helps with the issue of abrogation, which I mentioned in my first three nights. We talked a little bit about abrogation. So asbab al-nuzul is one of the major disciplines of understanding the Quran. Its twin is something else, which is knowing when the verses were revealed, either during the Meccan period or the Madanese period. Because the Prophet ﷺ lived in Mecca for 13 years, and then in Medina for 10 years. So there are verses that were revealed during the time of Mecca, and then there were verses that were revealed at the time of Medina. What is the definition of a Meccan verse, and what is the definition of a Madanese verse? Stay tuned, and we'll talk about that tomorrow, inshallah. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.